Hey everyone, this is Coach Phoenix.
And I'm Coach Gina.
And this is Toast with the Coaches.
Cheers. Thank you everyone for joining us again this week, and welcome to Perspective, the show where we drink and talk about life, the universe, and all that other jazz.
So again, my name is Coach Phoenix, and I'm the owner and CEO of Role Model Life Coaching LLC, where we focus on transitional coaching.
And again, I'm Gina Erickson. I am a certified life coach and founder of Clear Focus Coaching. We specialize in helping entrepreneurs untangle the challenges of starting up a business and empowering women in work, relationships, and life so they can face every day with confidence and intention.
So with that being said, I would like to raise a toast to a special guest. Viewers, you are really in for a good one. To a West Point graduate, D1 college football player, pro MMA fighter, loving husband, dope DJ, Major Brian Jenson. Cheers!
Cheers!
Brian, welcome.
Thank you for that intro, for bringing me out.
That is a long title you got there, Brian. Like, I don't know how you'd fit that on a business card.
I don't know. It's a lot longer than I thought it was. I just thought that I'm Brian Jenson, but.
But now hearing all of those accomplishments and having those titles, like, how did that make you feel?
I felt like that was, I said, don't dwell on your accomplishments, look to the future. So it's, it makes me proud. Like, yeah, I did that stuff, but, what's that song? What have you done for me lately?
And it's funny, Gina, you know what? It's funny that he said that because, times you hear people always complain about the negative or things that they want to accomplish. But rarely do you hear about people boasting and being really proud about the things that they accomplished, such as being a major in the United States military, going to one of the most elite schools like West Point, playing on a collegiate level, being a dope DJ and touring the world, living in Europe half of your adult life. Like, those things is things that people dream of, actually, like one of those things. So to accomplish all of those things, Brian, I say you should boast and let the world know who you are, sir.
I do what I can, man. I'm Major Jenson from 9 to 5. The weekends, occasionally, I'm a hashtag DJ BJ, and 24/7, I'm the husband. Like you said, loving husband.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's it like? I want to go back in your story because you got a lot of stuff leading up to there. But so you're a major right now. You are in. Where are you stationed right now?
Right now, I'm at part of the Army Joint Support Team at Nellis Air Force Base here in Las Vegas.
Okay, and you're married. So is your wife on base with you? How does that work?
So no, she lives at home with me. I had the choice. I could, like anywhere, I can live on post if I choose. Of course, it's Vegas, so I chose to live off post. So we live out here in Summerlin, about 25 minutes from base, and about 20 minutes to the Strip. So far enough away that I can't get in trouble at both.
That's the life. How you feel about those Raiders being out there?
Growing up in San Diego, Raiders, that's a 4-letter word to me, the Chargers.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're not going to conform being that you're in Vegas?
I can't, man. That's like a Yankees fan moving to Boston and becoming a Red Sox fan. Then you can't do it.
That sounds like
betrayal. It's pure betrayal.
Yeah. Let alone my wife's a Chiefs fan. So if I went to the Raiders, oh my, yeah, buddy, I'll be looking for a new apartment.
So then you would be living on base.
Exactly. I'd be living in my office.
Oh man. So let's go back in time a little bit. So tell me about kind of where it all began. Where'd you grow up and how'd you end up at West Point?
I will try to do a quick and condensed version the best I can. And then if there's anything you want to pick out or ask about, we can go from there. I grew up most of my life in San Diego. I moved from San Diego to Pennsylvania, a little town called Nazareth, up by Allentown, about an hour north of Philly. I moved right about 2 months before I turned 16. So basically I was 16 when I moved to Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
East Coast, East Coast.
Yeah. I went from west to the east, from Pac to Biggie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I grew up as a 3-sport athlete all through school: football, baseball, basketball. I wrestled a little bit. San Diego, I was a surfer, skater, snowboard, whatever I could do. Pennsylvania, I went from seeing the beach to cornfields. I still played all 3 sports throughout high school there. And then got recruited for football, and that's how I kind of ended up at West Point. And so I went there, to play football for a bit. And then from there, I got commissioned in 2005.
Wait. Let's pump the brakes on that. So I want to capture a moment, right? Because again, that's the humble guy, and you just making it seem like, oh, I just got a scholarship, and by the way, I went to West Point. No, dude, that shit is crazy. You know how many people wish they'd get a scholarship, let them know, a D1 scholarship, let alone to West Point? So let's back up. How good of a football player were you?
I held my own. I was a 2-time All-State in Pennsylvania. So I did all right. I had other rides, and I was talking to the schools: Pitt, Penn State, Maryland, Syracuse, Ohio State, et cetera. Kind of all the big schools up in the Northeast. I was getting letters from and visiting with and all that at the time.
So what made you choose West Point?
You took the words right out of my mouth. See?
I think it was kind of multiple things. I think I don't want to say I was hoodwinked. I think going up there when I visited, they took me down for the Army-Navy game, of course. So I was getting recruited. So Coach Sutton brought me down in Philly. I was out on the field for the game for a recruiting trip. And so when you see the Corps Cadets march on, and they're doing the flyovers with the Apaches, and you got all the generals there. And I think that year, I forget if it was the president or vice president was there for the game. And at the time it was at Lincoln Financial in Philly. So you're at like a sellout crowd, an NFL stadium sold out. It was pretty overwhelming. And then I think at the time I knew, and even looking back, I think it's true. I knew if I would have went to another school, if I would have went to fill in the other D1 school, probably, I don't know, I like to say I can resist anything but temptation. I would just say, I think if I would have went to like one of the other big schools or whatever, I know I would have done enough to graduate. But even through school, like high school, I had decent grades. I had good grades, but still my focus was on sports, primarily football and baseball. That was, I was in math class thinking about what play I was, how I was going to run and how I was going to react on defense or this or that. I wasn't thinking about, what does X equal? Nothing like that. So I think I felt, having seen buddies that went off to other colleges, even not on scholarships, we've just gone to like Penn State and stuff like that and visited and everything with them, seeing the life they lived. I was like, man, I can go to one of those schools and I could play D1 ball there and play football and all that. But the distractions and not having to go to class every time, and kind of, the temptation to be able to skate through and come out with a degree in swimming pool management or something,
So you had that mindset when you were a teenager?
Yeah. So that was kind of what I was looking at in high school. And I knew after I went up to West Point, I was like, man, this is a fit for me, because I think just that rank and file, the discipline, this is a way to do it, and everything just kind of seemed like something, because I didn't come from a family in military or anything like that. But it seemed like obviously a really good deal. Everybody, my coaches, I hardly even knew what West Point really was, but my parents, my coaches, everybody were telling me how good their academics were. I was struggling, like, okay, but it's D1 football.
Right. That's so funny that you took that path versus going to a school where you could, like a party school, or where you could skip out on things. You're like, no, I need the discipline, I need the structure, I need the order, which is like the opposite of what you would think of when you think of a teenager. Like,
yeah. And I think, I'm sorry. And I think the other thing too, like I was going that route, and I think like my parents will say, the easiest way to get me to do something is tell me I can't. Or, well, watch me here.
I'm the same way, dude. I'm
Tell me I can't do something, and then sit back and watch, and I'm going to accomplish it. And so, even coming into that small town Pennsylvania, it was a little bit difficult. The new kid from out of town, and you ain't from around here, and you're not one of us type things. But there's some good people there, but there was definitely some rough stuff. And unfortunately, I can probably name half a dozen teachers off the top of my head even that pulled me into the classrooms when they heard I was going to West Point, or that I was getting recruited there, and that's where I was intending to go. That pulled me in, Brian, let me speak to you. And they were like, hey, don't go to the academy. You don't deserve it. You're never going to make it. You're not smart enough. You're not disciplined enough.
Are
You're
you
not,
serious?
yeah,
Wow.
man. So, so I think that even drove me more like, oh, I can't. Well, watch this. And so I kind of made it a point, I guess, every year that I was at the academy, I went back to my high school in uniform. I was like, hey, yeah, no, I made it through another year. I'm doing good.
Were you that teacher that said I wasn't going to do this? Were you? I think you were. I don't know. I don't remember.
yeah. There were some interesting conversations and shock looks and stuff like that. So, but
that's really interesting. So I'm still stuck on the athlete in you, right? I'm sorry, Gina. I'm just like amazed about it, the fact that he was able to get all those scholarships. So I know California, they bounce back and forth. No, it's Florida and Texas is the best football states. Like as far as college recruits, they always back and forth between 1 and 2. Then you have California is always number 3. Then you have Georgia and then Ohio. So being from California, did you play football in California prior to going to Pennsylvania? So
I started playing football. I think, man, I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade. I want to say. I think my parents started me like a year early because I tried playing soccer, but I was a little rough as a kid, little ruffian. So only so many yellow and red cards you can get as a kid before they're like, we got a contact sport. This just isn't gonna fly. So, and I was kind of tall and big for my age. So yeah, I started playing at a young age and played all the way up through.
Nice.
So you went from the European football to the American football.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, okay. I guess this is what I need. Yeah.
So at what point in your life did it kind of hit you that you were good at this, and were you vying for that scholarship, or was that something that kind of came to you?
Like it came to me. So yeah, so really I was excelling in high school and doing pretty well with the sports and making the all district and county teams, and got made all state as a junior and then again as a senior. But at kind of towards the end of your junior years, we start getting the letters. And so then you start getting like the letters from the colleges asking for your information. If you're interested, here's what our program's about, et cetera. And so then, West Point pursued me. And I want to say, it was early my senior year, I believe, is when Coach Kent Riddle at the time was a special teams coordinator, and a head recruiter came in and visited me, and we had a chat and talk and all that. And then they kind of heavily recruited me through the rest of pretty much my whole senior season of high school. So
that's so awesome. So then going to West Point, I guess I don't really know too much about West Point. I mean, I know of West Point, but I don't know how does the college aspect of that work? Like, are you?
Hey, Gina,
Yeah,
I think it's so good point. And I think the viewers doesn't understand this as well. So being an Army guy myself, I have an understanding on how rigorous and tough it is to get into West Point. So before we get there, we need this. Can you explain the process and into you got a scholarship. Can you let the viewers know and Gina know how hard it is to get to West Point and all the different loops that you have to jump through, as one being getting the recommendation from your congressman?
It's a little bit of a process. It's not just fill out these forms, mail them in. Like a lot of other colleges, you got to fill out the forms, you write your essays and stuff like that. But a lot of them are more like leadership based at the academy, and how would you be this, and what's example of leadership that you've done or had throughout high school or in your life or something. But then, yes, you have to go get a congressional, you can be nominated by your congressman, your senator, or there's presidential nominations. So I had to go then interview with my congressman at the time, who was Congressman Pat Toomey. I think now he's Senator Pat Toomey, last I heard. But that was an experience in itself. So then I had to get his nomination, and then just that nomination. Then I go into the next pile, and then they go through the selection process based off of those nominations. And then, they drill it down. So they get, I'm trying to remember my numbers. These numbers might be off, but I think it was somewhere between like 12 to 15,000, 16,000 applicants a year, and they take roughly about 1,100 or so.
Wow.
So so even though you're getting like the football recruiting and all that stuff, it definitely helps, you know what I mean? Because they get a number of spots that they can kind of, hey, we want this guy, but you still kind of have to jump through some of those loops and all that, which was its own experience for me in of itself. I might have not exactly made it over the hurdle, but kind of just ran through the hurdles. So.
You got there in your own way, though.
Yeah. It was kind of comical, but.
Man, was there ever a point at which, because it sounds like you toured the place and you're like, yeah, this is a fit for me, like this is what I want to do. Was there ever a point in that process that you like maybe thought you weren't going to make it, or did you kind of always think that like you were going to find a way?
Like I knew I was always going to find a way, and I did not make it there. There's, the right way, the wrong way, and the way that I did it. It was not, I did not take the easy path or whatever. And part of it was just, again, you're competing. You got so many valedictorians and salutatorians and academics. And the academics at West Point are insane. Like I think you average, from 21 to 23 credits a semester up there. And yeah. So when you start off your freshman and sophomore year, your plebe and yuck year there, you get one elective. And that elective is, what language do you want to take?
Is it English an option?
No, you're already taking English. You're in the classes. You're taking history, English. You're taking chemistry, physics, math, like calculus, three-dimensional calculus, philosophy, psychology, computer engineering. Those are all mandatory classes. And so,
wow.
Yeah. So if you say, was there a point that I didn't think I was going to make it? I don't think there was a point that I didn't think I was going to make it, but there was a point where I was definitely struggling academic. I was on academic probation for quite a while, where you kind of have three grades there. You have your academic grade, a military grade, and then a physical grade. So I was good physically, physically fit and all that. Military, I was pretty good with all my military classes. It was the academics that, yeah, they were rocking me. But
what was your major?
So I majored in leadership with a minor in systems engineering.
So everyone at West Point have to play a sport and have to be some type of engineering major, right? Either their major or their minor.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do some sort of, so they have like civil, mechanical, nuclear, environmental, and then like I did the systems engineering. So
nice.
So yeah, so really, and that's where I went in. They had a management degree as well. When I went in, they said, so what's the difference between management and leadership? And they said, well, management, you take a financial accounting class. Leadership, you'll take like additional group psychology. Math. Yeah, I'll go on that group psychology. Yep.
So I heard that you say academically you struggle, but physically and the leadership portion for the military aspect, you like you did really, really well. So can you touch a little bit on like some of the training that you experienced at West Point?
Yeah, so I mean, like it's really cool. Each thing's a little bit different. Your sophomore or your freshman year going in, they're called beast barracks. It's like 6 to 8 weeks of basic training, and you're learning all your basic army skills and marksmanship and marching and road marching and all that type of stuff, just entry level stuff. Some of this has changed over the years. They tweaked the program a little bit. When I went through, that was that. And then right before your sophomore year that summer, it's called Camp Buckner, where you actually go out and it's like Camp Kikiki. You're out literally, it's like a summer camp. You're all living together in these bays and everything out there right off of a lake. It's beautiful, actually. And you kind of learn like a little bit more advanced stuff for the military, some military tactics and how to do patrolling and setting up patrol bases and all that type of stuff. And then they bring in, usually one of the Army brigades will come in, 10th Mountain Division. One of their brigades supported us when I was there. And so they come in and you kind of have like a few days where you spend it with the field artillery and you learn about the cannons and you actually get to shoot a cannon and all that. And a couple of days you're out, with the engineers and you're learning how to use C4 and blow stuff up, and you're out on the lakes with them and setting up bridges and rope bridges. And then you do all that, and it kind of culminates at Camp Buckner with Infantry Week, where you actually go out and you go like force on force, and it's a bunch of cadets running around up against the 10th Mountain as the Op 4.
Oh, wow. So what's the Op 4? You said Op 4. I don't know. The viewers know what that is.
Okay, Opposition Force.
I don't know what that is.
So think of like a giant laser tag game where we've got all of our laser sensors on and little lasers on the end of our weapons, and they've got theirs on as well. And it's when I say laser tag, it's like a giant tactical game. It's not just let's go run around these buildings. We're actually through the woods and hiking up over mountains.
Y'all really playing Army, huh?
Yeah, real playing Army. You're sleeping in the woods. You're in full camo, face paint, everything. So.
Wow, that's
yeah, so it's cool because you get to learn all the weapons. You actually get to go out, you shoot a tank, you get to shoot an actual sabot round, you shoot the 25 millimeter gun off of a Bradley fighting vehicle.
You have to describe these weapons. So you're throwing out all of these names, and I know what they are. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm an Army guy. Army. But
I know what 90% of them are actually. I'm like, I've
Oh,
gone down
really?
some Wikipedia.
Oh,
Yeah, I've gone
there you
down
go.
some Wikipedia
Oh,
rabbit
okay.
holes, and like, I've fired some weapons, like just some handguns, but I know some of them.
What
and-
weapons, Gina? What weapons?
Oh my gosh, I have a friend who's a gun enthusiast, and he took me to the shooting range, and the only gun that I remember that he had was a Desert Eagle, and nothing was insane.
Ooh, that's a good boy.
5-0.
Yeah. I love
That
it.
was a bit intense to shoot, but yeah, other than that, I'm keeping up with you. But you know, for those people who don't go down Wikipedia rabbit holes about guns, you know, in their spare time.
So, yeah, I'll just put it. You get to fire everything from a 9mm pistol, all of our different machine guns, up to a cannon, like an actual howitzer cannon, and then even a main tank gun, you know, a main tank round. So, and everything in
Easy.
between. Yeah. So,
Okay, cannons. Why? Do they actually still use cannons, or was it just for the, like
Oh,
the fun of
well,
it?
I am an artillery officer. That is near and dear to me. That is my heart and soul is the artillery world.
But like when I think of cannons, I'm just like, yeah, no, Civil War, right? Like they're not. I don't. So,
Yeah.
explain cannons.
But yeah, so no, we have our light 105mm cannons that we can drop in, whether it's out of a plane or a helicopter. We can sling load it and drop it wherever we want. We've got larger, what we call the M777, the M777, which is a 155mm cannon, and that's towed by a truck. But again, we can truck it into wherever we need to. Range about 30 kilometers with that. Or then we have the Paladins, which a lot of people to the
heavy.
yes, buddy. So kind of for the untrained eye, people might mistake them as a tank, but they're actually a 155mm cannon that's up on a track platform that can keep up. They can self-locate. They can fire right off the head and literally pull off the side of the road, hit the self-locate, and start shooting from there.
So
That is cool and terrifying.
So Gina, you mentioned, you said cannons. Why cannons, right? Why cannons? Cannons are so important that they named the field artillery, which I was a part of for 6 years, the king of battle. Yeah, not the infantry, not the guys on the ground, but us. Because without the king, there wouldn't be any victories. You heard? Cheers to that. Cheers to the king of battle. Field artillery, you heard?
I drink to that.
Yes. All right, so Brian, you're in West Point, struggling in school, but you're doing really well as far as the tactical and learning your job, your future job. So going into as far as like what you say you would field artillery, how did you get that job? What did you have to do? Like, did they compare you to like your classmates? Was you able to just go in and say, hey, I want field artillery? And then why did you choose field artillery?
So kind of the way it works is at the end, they do this big algorithm, which basically just puts together your academic score, physical and military, and it spits out your overall GPA while you're there. Mm-hmm. And so I'll kind of touch on the way that I really pushed through was, I think my biggest class while I was there was 15 students. So it's very like intimate, like one-on-one, very small class instruction. So with the West Point professors, pretty much on the first day of class, they walk in and they're like, hi, I'm Major Jenson. This is my office phone number. This is my home phone number. Here's my cell phone number. Here's my email address. I'm available 24/7. You know, I usually go to bed around 10. My kids go to bed at 9 or 8 or whatever. Please don't call after these hours unless it's an emergency. But they're there to make sure you graduate. So I definitely had to take full advantage of that, as they call AI, additional instruction. Where the point where even one of my chemistry instructors, he ended up just started picking me up from practice. And I'd go to his house and I'd be in the back room in his study doing equations and all that while he was out eating dinner with the family. He'd ping back and forth with me and all that and draw me back off at night. So
yeah, it sounds like some really good support.
Yeah, so the support system's amazing there. It's there for you to either use or lose. So I obviously chose to use it. So when it comes
if I can interject, that just sounds like a complete 180 from the high school experience you have, where teachers are pulling you in and being like, you can't make it, you're not smart enough, you can't do this, to having teachers pulling you in and being like, let me help you after hours, come to my house, like a completely polar opposite.
Exactly. It was awesome. They were just like, hey, it's one of them, like, I tell people, like, kids that I know that have gone to West Point are there now. Even I tell them, like, it's yours to lose. You know, everything, if you take full opportunity of everything that's there to help, they want to make you succeed. You know, the education there costs several $100,000 when you put all the training and everything into it. So they're doing everything they can to make you succeed because there's a huge investment into you. So really to not pass it's kind of on you because you have so many resources.
What's the fallout rate? Like the graduation rate compared to people that actually like that don't make it?
We started, I want to say, between 11 and 1,200 in my class. And on graduation day, it's actually funny. They call us the class of 9/11 because 9/11 happened my freshman year.
Oh, wow.
And on graduation day, we had 911 of us that walked.
That is crazy.
How many?
900. And we started with about 1,200, yeah.
Oh, wow. And
so,
because of academics or physical,
yeah, people just showed up and said, hey, you know what, this ain't for me. I don't want, you know, I thought it was something different. And they get kind of the real taste of the Army and go, yeah, this just isn't what I want to do. So
yeah,
good for them. Good for them. Good for them for quitting and knowing they can't cut it. You know, good for them because, I mean, not everybody could be an officer in the United States military, huh, Brian?
Yes, sir. No, so I mean, it works out good, yeah, because you're not locked in until, because the school is free. Like once you get in, everything's free while you're there. You actually get paid to go to school, but obviously you owe 5 years service commitment when you're done. But you don't sign on until the very first day of school your junior year. So you technically could go there for 2 years absolutely free and go, you know what, this ain't for me. I want to transfer to another school. I just don't want to be in the military. So you have a lot of people that fall out for that, or they get kicked out too because it's for academics. Another big thing that West Point's famous for is their honor code, which is a cadet will not lie, cheat, steal, or tolerate those who do. So you get, it's pretty much like point blank. If you get caught lying, cheating, anything like that, stealing, like you're kicked out right away. That, you know, you go in front of a board of your peers, it's called an honor board and all that, and they pretty much kind of determine your fate. So you copy off of a test, you turn in a paper that's been plagiarized, anything like that. Yeah, it's hit the street pretty much, you know. So they really take that huge. So so yeah, that's where a lot of the attrition comes from. It's just that whole multitude of things. So I guess kind of back to your question, Regina, like where you come to your senior year, they have first they have what's called branch night. So leading up to this, they go, okay, here's everybody's GPA, and they pretty much rank order you from 1 through 1,000 or however many there are. And you have all the different Army branches. And so the way they do it now, or at least when I went through, is all digitized. So you could go in there and you put your branch preference in online, and you can go, okay, I want to go field artillery number 1. Number 2, I want to go to armor and be a tanker. And maybe number 3, military intelligence. And number 4, I want to be a pilot in aviation. But you rank order them all like that. And then they basically go off, and each branch has like a floor and a ceiling, the minimum that they have to fill and a maximum that they can take. And they just go down and go, okay, you're ranked number 1 in the class. What do you want? Boom, I want to go, medical service corps. Cool, you got it. Number 2, I want to go infantry. Cool, you got it. And they go all the way down. So depending upon where you're at with your class rank will kind of somewhat play into dictate what you get and everything. So
it kind of incentivizes you a little bit too to climb that rank because then you get first pick, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, some of the branches like medical service corps and stuff like that, some of the more specialized ones, there's only a very few slots for it, which some of the people are a little bit more high in the academia and all that. It's perfect for, you know what I mean? They have the chances to get it. They're up at the top of those are the type of people. If you would have tried to send me to go be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. Yeah. I could put a Band-Aid on you, but
So with artillery, where was that on your list?
So actually, honestly, artillery was number 3, but I really, my 1, 2, 3, I was really kind of open for. My thing was, I just knew I wanted to be combat armed. So I think I had infantry, armor as a tanker, and artillery as my top 3. I think it was in that order, but I really didn't care. I was just like, you know what? I just know that I don't want to sit behind a desk. I don't want to, bless those people who do all that type of admin and logistics work for us. But I knew my personality and mentality just didn't quite fit it. I was a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more just active and physical, and I love camping and hiking and football and all that type of stuff. So,
Gina, so that's very, very interesting, Gina. You hear what Brian said, right? So I told you, for me, I was in field artillery, so I was in the fight, right, just like Brian is now. And when I went through that time, because I did not go to West Point, but my route was ROTC, and the process is kind of similar. So when my first pick was logistics. Unlike you, Brian, I realized that I do not like camping. I do not like getting my hands dirty, and it does sound pretty good. So my last 4 years when I became an officer, I was logistics. So you said, God bless those folks that does that. And I appreciate that blessing, brother.
No, definitely, man. Yeah,
Cheers to that.
Yeah, you know.
And and I think it's interesting too, because like you need all those pieces, like you say. You need the support. If everybody could get into West Point, and everybody could join the military, and everybody could do that, there would be so many just areas of life that are not filled to support those people. So but also the people who are able to do that and to make that work. Like, it's just, I mean, people always thank everybody who serves. So like, thank to you both for serving and for doing those jobs and for just going after it and being good at it too. Like, cheers to you guys.
No, it's like a sports. Yeah,
Yes, definitely.
I use it like a sports analogy of you think like football, you got the quarterback, the running backs, the wide receivers, those kind of skill positions that get the glory. But where's the game won in the trenches with the O linemen? The linemen that are down there blocking and making the plays happen. And when you look at it, people think like, oh, artillery, it's the cannons, it's the infantry guys, it's the special forces, it's the tanks and all that. Well, yeah, they're the ones scoring the touchdowns and throwing the passes and all that stuff. But it's the supply, the logistics, the intelligence, that whole community of support that are the linemen blocking and all that, making sure that we have what we need to be able to do what we can do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Each to his own skill.
Yeah, exactly. So no, they are the unsung heroes out there for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you became artillery. You graduated from West Point. What was next? What was your first duty station? What was that experience like as a brand new leader? Yeah, take us on that journey.
So I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for my officer basic course, which is just learning the basic skills as an artillery officer there. So I mean, you're back in the classroom, just basically learning, how to actually be an artillery officer, learning your job specialty. And then from there, I went over to Schweinfurt, Germany.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, to 1/7 Field Artillery, and I was there for just a matter of months, maybe 3 months at most, 4 months. I have to look back and try to remember when I actually got there. But I was only there for a few months, and then deployed right away in 2006 to Ramadi.
What's deployed? What that mean?
Oh yeah, went over to good old Ramadi, Iraq for the Battle of Ramadi.
Oh, so you went to Iraq? You got deployed? You was in a fight?
I was there as a fresh butter bar wet behind the ears, and they threw me straight to the wolves, man. It's like, all right.
Wow.
I have a question for both of you on that.
Yes.
Were you scared? Like, was there any point that you were just like, oh shit?
I'll let you go first, Phoenix, on this one.
I love when people ask me this question. Gina, I'm gonna tell the people, and I don't know if it's because I was from Brooklyn. I always say that, right? Brooklyn, or because I was a young kid. I was 20, and then I turned 21 over there. And the individuals just like me felt the same way. I mean, they wasn't from Brooklyn, but they was young. I would honestly say no one that I was with the entire time through any combat, any combat operations, any mission that we went through. I looked to my left and I looked to my right on the flight from America to Iraq, crossing the Kuwaiti line, going into Iraq. I have never ever seen fear or felt fear for myself or anyone around me during my 2 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. So to your question, no. And I'm not acting tough. I don't know if I felt that confident in my training, as Brian mentioned earlier, in West Point, but it goes beyond West Point for the National Guard reserves, active duty. We train. So it's like playing Army, going camping. So it's muscle memory when you get out there. And I felt so confident, and I was so proud to be an American and do and be write history with the guys to my left and my right, that I didn't feel the fear, and those guys, they didn't show me any fear as well. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
No, I can definitely agree for quite a bit of what you said on the same mutual feelings. But I think, again, I grew up in sports. I kind of use that sports analogy of it too, of scared but confident. if that makes sense. So like even high school football or something like that, you know, like minutes before the game, I had a bit of nervousness. I was a bit scared, but it wasn't like I was fearful or anything like that. It was just that scared, anxious, like what's going to happen. But as soon as the game kicked off, I had tunnel vision. I was just locked in onto that game and what was going on. And I think the deployment was kind of the same way. It was the fear of the unknown. And I think like the first patrol I went out on and all that, you're like, I don't know. So I don't know, am I going to get shot at right away? Am I going to get blown up right away? I don't know. And then just as the deployment goes on, you kind of gain that confidence. My first deployment was relatively rough with the Dagger Brigade, though. We ended up losing 109 soldiers on that tour. So it was quite big. So I think after a while, you kind of cross, when you're having that much casualties between just us, let alone the Marines and Ramadi and all that. There's so many lives, unfortunately, lost during that deployment that you kind of get to the point where it was just like, you know what, I'm out here, I'm taking the fight to them, and what's going to happen is going to happen. You know what I mean? Because you kind of get that mental switch that flicks. It goes, okay, the only way that I can best protect myself and my soldiers and my battle buddies is to do my battle drills, to run my skills, to run those drills and be there to fight for each other and all that with no fear and just go forward, you know, and what happens is going to happen, but I'm going to be in that fight and I'm going to go down swinging if it happens. So, you know, kind of like what Phoenix was getting at, when you're looking at your buddy, your left and right, there's no fear in the eyes. It's just, we're here and we're going to take that fight. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I just hope it's painless, but I'm going to go down swinging and I'm going to do everything I can to bring my buddies home safe with me.
Yeah, definitely. And, how old were you during your first deployment?
23. 22, 23, yeah.
Now imagine that, Gina. Imagine that, viewers. Just think about it. I was 20, turning 21. Brian said,
"You're babies."
Yeah, right. But I was 20, and I was following, and Brian, individuals. Think about it. Individuals like Brian, that's 23, fresh out of college. So think about you just graduated college. You're 20 years old. You say you went to the basic course. How long was the basic course, Brian?
19 weeks.
19 weeks. So you went 19 weeks, then you get another 3 to 4 months in unit when you was in Germany. Now you're in a fight. How many soldiers do you have, Brian, as a platoon leader?
Oh, so we start off about 30, 25 to 30.
So you had 25 to 30 soldiers, and they family, husbands, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, put their 30 and 25 soldiers' lives in your hands. And he's 23 years old.
I can't even imagine working at like a desk job at a corporation, managing people on a small team who need to like launch a website at 23 years old, let alone leading them into the field for a fight, like with guns. That's so crazy. But also, like you were saying, the amount of support and the amount of community and the amount of training that you have to be able to do that too, like that's just, it's so insane. And I mean, cheers to the people who train you guys and they're supporting you too to get you to that point, because man, that's intense.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll add on a thing too, and Phoenix, having been an enlisted NCO prior, he'll fully understand this too. With the Army, you know, as you show up as a young second lieutenant, you get paired with a platoon sergeant with a sergeant first class E7 who's got 12, 14, 15, sometimes even 16, 17 years in the Army and all that, is going to show you your way and help be your partner and your mentor as well too. And so I had an awesome one, Sergeant First Class Carlos Riviera, rest in peace, brother. Unfortunately lost him a few years ago, but to the day he passed, he's one of my best friends and all that. But when I showed up, he grabbed the young second lieutenant by the by the back of my neck, said, "Hey, here's the way to do things, and here's the way we're going to do things, and here's how we fight and all that." And he did it in a very respectful way, in a very awesome way that he let everybody know, hey, I was a platoon leader, but at the same time, it was kind of one of those, when I was in front of the soldiers, you know, he held me up. And then when we got behind that closed door, he had that professional relationship with me of going, hey, sir, here's the way that we should do this. And here's what I'm thinking and blah, blah. And here's why we got to do it this way. And he really helped mentor me and develop me and really excel me on that leadership path. And so, you know, to this day, I'm forever grateful for him on really giving me a good jump start into the Army.
Yeah, definitely. Shout outs to the NCOs, man. They are definitely the backbone of the Army. And so for viewers and Gina that don't know what like the NCO or enlisted or exactly what Brian is just trying to describe. So think about it like this. I make this comparison. So, you know, Brian was a West Point. He's fresh out of college. and he's is in charge of 25 to 30 soldiers, and he has his right-hand man, but it's his supervisor. So Brian's a manager, then you have his supervisor. However, the supervisor been in the Army anywhere between 10 and 15, 20 years, so they have this buttload of experience. However, Brian is in charge and had the authority over that and responsibility over that unit. However, he needs to lean on his right-hand man. So the comparison would be, say, a doctor fresh out of medical school. They don't really know. They went through the residency, and just like Brian went through different career courses and different training. However, they haven't been in the fight, and the only one that know who has that experience, that been in that fight, is nurses. You know how doctors lean on nurses, and nurses sometimes know things that doctors don't know. When they first get there, they rely heavy on that nurse. That's the relationship between a lieutenant, like an officer, and their enlisted counterpart. So
kind of teaching like the life skills, practical application aspect of things, rather than like, okay, you learned this, you studied this, but now you're gonna do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you go left, then this is going to happen to you. So before you let me tell you the consequences before you make that mistake, sir. So you kind of asking you, you know, because he can't really tell you what to do, but he's telling you what to do. So he's kind of asking you what to do, you know, kind of that relationship.
Yeah.
So awesome, Brian. So you was in Ramadi, and so explain Ramadi at that time. So you said the Battle of Ramadi, and I don't know if there's a lot of history buffs or military gurus that's really into this stuff, but explain the climate of Ramadi, and if you have any stories you could share with us, we would love to hear that, Brian.
Yeah, man, we have to probably do about 10 podcasts to cover those 15 months. But
yeah, I was actually gonna say we're already almost at our hour, and I'm just like, there's so many more questions. I think we have to have you back,
are you serious?
like for part 2 and part 3, man, to talk about like the MMA and the you know, your job now and your DJ. Like, there's so much that I want to ask.
Oh my God, yeah, damn, Brian, your life is so rad. I told you.
It's flying by, but please continue.
Oh, so yeah, quick kind of reference for Ramadi. So about 2 years prior to that is when we took Fallujah, and Fallujah was a very big stronghold out in the Anbar province. The way they did Fallujah was basically they surrounded the city, told the city, hey, you've got until such and such time on this day that if you're bad, you know, or if you're good, or you want to get out of the city, get out, because we're going to come and invade and literally take over this entire city. And at this point, anything past that, we're considering you a hostile, you know, enemy if you're still in the city past this time. And so that was a huge fight for Fallujah. So Ramadi, a couple years later, about 2 years later, basically everybody was bad out of Fallujah. They didn't die in that battle, and moved up to Ramadi, and Ramadi kind of became that new stronghold, if you will. So when we went into Ramadi, and we'd already been there, but we started to take Ramadi over, they didn't want to do the same thing with Fallujah. So they literally did, we call it clear, build, hold. So we literally fought across the city block by block. So we took tanks in, and we were fighting in the middle of an urban city, big built up city squares, 4 or 5 story buildings, etc. I mean, we were firing main gun tank rounds and stuff in the middle of the city. That's how kind of crazy it was. Yeah, it was nuts. We were dropping buildings with multiple launch rockets out of Al Qaeda Air Base. You know, it was just a street to street fight where we literally fight. We might fight and gain 3 blocks across the city from Al Qaeda, and then maybe the next day they might push back a block or 2 against us. I'm like, crap. And then we'd regroup and then fight another 3 or 4 blocks. And so we literally did this across the entire city. And with the method of clear, build, hold, essentially that's what we were doing, is we'd clear several blocks as much as we could. We build up a couple either Iraqi police stations, checkpoints, cops, or combat outposts, just little bases, almost like little safe house type things. We build those up to secure that area, and then we'd make sure we held that ground then. And then and that was it. Just that was the method to move all the way across the city. And so
what was the reason for going there? Like, what was the end goal purpose?
So Ramadi is actually one of the closest big city. It's just a little bit, I guess, probably a couple hours to the west of Baghdad. But it's the big city. It's the first big city on the way out to Syria. So that was where a lot of the arms, you had a lot of other cross paths and all that coming in, even foreign fighters, etc. And so it was a huge stronghold. It was another way that they were also launching attacks into Baghdad so they could smuggle arms across, get it into Ramadi, and then it was easy to run it right down the highway into Baghdad if need be. So Ramadi was a huge fight. I mean, for months between us and the Marines, we were averaging losing at least one soldier Marine a day. I can tell stories of, I remember one of the first times I was eating in the mess hall in the chow, like the big cafeteria, if you will, on FOB Ramadi, on our big operating base. And over the loudspeaker system on the whole base, it started going over, hey, if you have B positive blood, everybody with B positive blood, report to the cache, which is like the medical cache where they bring in all the casualties. Yeah, and so so I remember myself with B positive blood, literally just dropping my plate, getting up from the table and being on a dead sprint across the base, running, 200, 300, 400 meters, whatever it was, all the way over there. And then there was a line of us there. And so as you were walking, you had to have your ID card and your dog tags that have our blood type on it. And they were like, yep, check, good. Yep, check, good. Yep, check, good. And as quick as they could get us in, they were literally, the medics were right there pulling blood from us as they're bringing in mass casualties in, and almost literally taking them, because they'd run out of their blood supply or reserves. They were literally taking it right out of us and then sticking it into the casualties coming in to help try to stabilize them so they could get medevaced out.
So this is why I don't, this is why I didn't go into that field, because like I'm getting teary just hearing you talk about this and how, like, I mean, I know that you said, there was an moment that I was afraid and stuff, but like how do you, man, I'm stumbling over words just thinking about it. How do you deal with that? Like, how do you put yourself in the mental space of like, you're fighting for your country, you're fighting for your brothers, and like, and then you're also going and helping to fight for their lives with your own physical blood. Like, how do you work through that?
I think it's like anything. When you get over there, I'm sure Phoenix would probably relate the same way. And I don't think I'm saying anything that anybody hasn't heard before. When you talk to any type of veterans over there, that the political sides of left, right, independent, middle, whatever, all that stuff goes away. The foreign relations and policies and all that type of stuff, that goes out the window. All that you're worried about there when you're on those streets is your team, your guys, your soldiers, your left and right, your battle buddies and all that. That's as far as it goes. I'm not thinking about who's voting for who or what or anything like that. I'm just, my mission is to complete the mission I've been given and make sure I can bring home all of us safely, and get us through the fight. And that's it. And so as you start to lose soldiers, it definitely hurts. And I think it's one of the things that people start to deal with PTSD is because you learn to kind of suppress it for a little bit, if you will. It is, if you're in the middle of a firefight and unfortunately one of my soldiers gets shot or wounded next to me and all that, I don't have the time to sit there and start crying and mourning him and reacting to him. It's like, no, I've got another 10, 20, 30 guys around me that I have to do, and someone's got to cover down on him, make sure he gets some medical support from a medic, or I put a tourniquet on him or whatever. But I'm on to the next thing. I don't have time to kind of sit and mull through that, or like I said, or go through any of that stuff. So
you're kind of in survival mode.
Yeah, that it's the fight or flight. And it's like, taking me out of the equation might cause more casualties or something. And so we're all just fighting for each other. And I think that's kind of what people deal with then, is you suppress it for 10, 11, 12, 15 months for this deployment. And then when you come back, and all of a sudden you kind of get that release and you get that emotional release. And that's what I think a lot of guys kind of deal with when we get back. So
you start to build this resilience, right? Or what you consider to be resilience, but it's not really resilience. You're building up like a guard in a war. And the thing is that, Brian, how many times you deployed?
I've got 4 to the Middle East and then 1 over to the Balkans.
Okay, so you have 5 deployments, right? I have 2 deployments. So you continue to send us over to overseas to defend our country. We come back, and like Brian said, at the moment we can't react to what we're seeing around us: dead bodies, firefights day in, day out. We can't react to that. We just have to keep pushing, right? But then we come back home, and the Army do the best that they can and do a really good job at trying to reintegrate you. Reintegrate you mean like have classes and programs to try to basically turn your mind back into normal mode, back into garrison, what they call home base. And they try to turn your mind back into this, but think about it. Think about any traumatic experience that you have experienced in your life, and was you able to turn that on like a light switch? Probably not. It's probably affecting you from now. I mean, it's probably affecting you from that instant to now. Now, imagine if you went to Iraq or Afghanistan or any deployment 5 times like Brian, and it happened over and over and over and over again. But then they tell you to come back home and be normal. Brian is still in. As for me, I'm in the civilian world, and I need to be normal. So when I interact with people like you, Gina, and things tick me off, or I can't compartmentalize certain aspects because it just because of that trigger. How do individuals look at you and want you to just be normal? I question that, and I feel like individuals, people, Americans, y'all need to look at these vets and look at them from a standpoint of we are not all right. And I don't blame the military. Matter of fact, I know you would say the same, Brian. The military made me who I am, and it sounds like the same for you.
Yeah.
However, this is the casualty. These is part of casualties of war. You have real casualties, heroes that pass for you, for me, for Brian, for you all to live, and then you have the casualties of war that we have to survive in order to continue to fight. And those are the repercussions and the circumstances that we are faced with. So
Absolutely. So I wonder if Phoenix, being post-military and back into that civilian world, and Brian still kind of being in that world, what is something that people like me, just regular civilians, like what can we do, if anything, to better support or have better understanding when interacting with people who are still in it or have come from it? Like, is there anything that we can do to be better supports?
good question, Gina. Brian, you want to take that one?
I was gonna leave it for you, but
we toasting to you. We want to hear you. They tired of hearing me. They don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear me anymore, Brian. We all want to hear about this cool dude in front of us. You heard?
No, I mean it's like anything. I think not to say I always appreciate the person that sees me in uniform, or whether it's a gas station or grocery store comes up, hey sir, thank you for your service or whatever like that. It means a lot to me, and I really do appreciate that a bunch and all that. But if people are looking for something, say to do like a little bit more, and put actions with the words, like I said, if that's all they can afford and they just want to do the words, trust me, it means a lot more than what they think. But just even help any type of veterans programs, Wounded Warrior Project, anything they can do like that, is really, it's helpful. It's helpful to all of us. It's helpful to our brothers and sisters who have been wounded or dealing with things that they're coming back from. Any of that type of stuff really helps. And I think there's just like anything, there's a multitude of people out there that'll come up with new ways, new charities. There's people that, unfortunately, in the military, that try to seek out that type of stuff. And I think some of us, Phoenix could probably agree with that. We kind of finger wag at them a little bit and go, hey, it's not I chose this life. I chose what I have to do. And so I appreciate the service. Yeah. We always make the jokes of, hey, thank me for my service. But nah, I don't like, it means the world to me when somebody does it, but it's not something I'm trying to seek out, and I compare it to, even look right now with the way the world's going right now with this COVID thing, and the medical workers and doctors and nurses and all that stuff out there right now, doctors are saving hundreds of thousands of lives every day, but they're not walking around going, hey, thank me for my service. It's like, hey, I saved lives because that's what I was trained to do. It's the career path that I took, and they're no more heroes to me than, or less heroes, I should say, than any of us for a lot of what they've done and what they're fighting through every day right now. Mm-hmm. So sometimes just even that pat on the back, just that handshake, the hug, the whatever, just a, hey, thank you. It means a lot. And that's why, again, take my hat off to the people that have been keeping the nation going together right now, from doctors, medical service providers, truck drivers, grocery store clerks, all of them. They're really, you look at what are the essential workers right now, I'm sorry, going on a tangent right and everything. It's not the big company CEOs.
What we're here for.
Yeah, it's the big company CEOs. It's the soldiers on the ground over in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's the soldiers on the ground right now. I say soldiers, but the people that are restocking the shelves at the local grocery store. It's the nurses that are helping, people come in, and the truck drivers that are driving supplies out to everybody, and the toilet paper shortages and all that. So I kind of compare it of the same thing. We're on the same ground fight, that it's not about me or anything like that. It's about my brethren and my sisters, my brothers, my soldiers, my fellow Americans, and all that. So just even that simple thank you can go a long way.
Nice, nice. So Brian, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You know, like Colin Kaepernick and the social tension that's going on in our country right now. As active duty member in our United States military, how do you feel when any individual kneel during the flag? Do you think that's is that disrespectful to our flag and the veterans and the service members? And do you think, how do you feel about that as a service member only, not personal feelings, but as a man in uniform?
So it's kind of, again, I have mixed feelings on this. I've had discussions with people, and I'm going to say my opinion doesn't sway necessarily, I want to say, as far as that, but I looked at it through multiple lenses, you know, just like a lot of things, you know, and when I say it, I'll say it like this. So the reason why I fight and I do what I do is because I believe in our country, I believe in our Constitution and all that. You know, I've sworn to support and defend it and all that. And so right up there, what's one of the very first amendment, you know, freedom of speech and everything. So if I didn't believe that you should have the freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly and the freedom to protest or something like that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. That's one of the greatest things about our country, is that you have that freedom. Now, whether what he's doing I disagree with or I agree with or whatever, that's kind of a separate discussion, you know what I mean? But the fact that he's able to do that in a way, it makes me proud to be an American for that. Of, you know what, there's so many other countries, and you've been to some of them over there and everything, you know, that you do something like that against the government, you kneel on the flag, you burn the flag, you're going to get stoned, decapitated, death, locked in jail for your life or whatever. So I think, you know, like I said, so I'm not trying to beat around the bush on it.
No.
Or whatever. But the fact that people are able to do those type of things, like, again, I think it's great, and that's what makes our country great, is that they can do that stuff. And then if you want to discuss on whatever I think it's, you know, good, bad, and different, that's a whole nother, you know.
And that's exactly, so you answered the question perfectly, guys. Actually, not your personal opinion, but your opinion from a soldier. And what I heard was that as a soldier, that's the reason why you fight. You love our country, and you feel like that's the reason why you out there, and you risk your neck to provide that opportunity to individuals like Colin Kaepernick to voice his opinion with freedom of speech. So no, you answer our question.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And I'm trying to remember the quote. I forget who did it. I know I'll screw it up, but it was basically, you know what, if you can't understand both sides of the argument, then you don't understand what you're arguing. So
boom. Brian, I absolutely love that. I absolutely love what you're saying here, is that you're saying this is a nuanced conversation. This is not black and white. This is not right or wrong. This is that there's so much that goes into it, you know, and that you say that you can empathize and see it from many different perspectives, if I could say. That is exactly like in there. That's exactly why we're here. And I love that you're able to come to the table with that and say, like, look, I get it. Like, that's why I'm fighting. Personal level, I feel this way, or, you know, like, I can understand why someone might feel that way. Like, I think that's, especially in the current political climate, that is what we need more of. We need people to be able to come to the table and say, I see it from your perspective. I may not agree personally, but I can see why. Like, not just you're wrong, I'm right. I can see why.
Yes. I hate the fact that people are not able to voice their opinion, and then if someone want to be like, "Oh, I support this one," or "I support that one," it's like, "Oh my God, how do you support that person? Oh my God, this is horrible," and just blow your social media up just for your opinion. Like, let people breathe. How you know your opinion is the right opinion? Like, let's share thoughts. Let's have different perspectives.
Yeah. It's funny when I simplify it. I know this is oversimplifying any of the issues, but I say I compare it to chocolate and vanilla ice cream. We can sit here and argue, I like chocolate better, you like vanilla better, but at the end of the day, we both like ice cream. And so at the end of the day, just because we like different flavors doesn't mean that, you know what, I like chocolate better, get rid of all the vanilla because my way is the only way. Stop. Like, let's talk. And why not have both? Why not have a swirl?
Exactly.
Yeah. And instead of arguing about ice cream, let's just eat ice cream.
Why not just come together and find the things that we can agree upon and all that? And I think when you look at a lot of those issues down to the core arguments or the core issues there and all that, I don't think there's many people that they're going to argue against it. You know what I mean? And so, you know, with the Colin Kaepernick thing in the state of the country right now with the police brutality and everything, is whether you're arguing either ways, there's people that's getting highlighted as two extremes. But I think, you know what, 99.9% of the Americans and people, if you sit there and go, okay, hey, what do we want? We want to have some sort of police reform where everybody's being treated fairly and equally, no matter what their race, creed, color, sex, orientation, any of that is. Everybody gets treated fairly, respectfully, and nip that in the butt. I don't know if there's anybody that's going to really go against that and go, no, I don't think that. Like, but we get caught so far off on the extremes of arguing our points, and today it doesn't matter what it is. You're making a huge argument with a lot of different perspectives, and then you're gonna throw it up on Instagram or Facebook on a quick meme, and 2 sentences, and be like, yeah, I just summed up this whole thing, and that's why I'm right. Like, no.
Exactly.
It's definitely ridiculous. But I appreciate you answering that question. So as we look at your life, and this West Point grad, college football phenomenon, then you go into being a hero in the Army, a great leader, combat veteran. How do you have time to get into UFC and be this dope DJ? Like, explain that.
Wow. So, like you said, Jimmy, we'll do parts 2 and 3 and 4, whatever, to cover all that. But kind of to give a simple answer for a lot of that stuff, to kind of package it all up into one, comes down to, what are your priorities in life? And I tell people, people talk to me about stuff. I go, what are your priorities? And what, people are like, I'm trying to save money. I'm like, well, what's your priorities? If your priority is saving money, let's go look at your budget and all that, and look where you're spending your money, and where your money's getting spent. Those are your actual priorities in life. And they'll see and go, oh crap, I really don't want this. I really don't want that. And I'm like, oh, that's an easy spot to save money. So for me, it was time. What were my priorities? And so whether it was when I was fighting or when I was DJing, when I was learning DJ in England and DJing all over Europe, those became my priorities. So I asked people, like, how much time do you spend? Do you play video games? Someone's like, oh, I got my Xbox or my PlayStation or whatever. And I go, okay, well, how many hours do you play a night? How often do you play? Like, oh, I play 2 hours a night. I go, okay, well, shoot, just Monday through Friday, that's 10 hours right there. How about the weekends? You add on another easy 10 hours or something. You're up to almost a full day, an extra 24 hours in a week that you could have to be spent on something else. And, the same can be said about TV shows. And so, it's funny, because even my wife and I, she's like, oh, have you seen this TV show or that TV show? I'm like, nope. For years.
The priorities.
Yeah. So for years, like my priorities in Germany at first were, it was work and all that with the Army. And then when I got off, I was either in the gym, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, grappling, Thai boxing, whatever. So shoot, I think when I was in Germany, I was living, actually, I didn't have furniture. I had a government couch that they let me loaned out to me, and I had a government loaned out bed. And my TV, I didn't even have television, I didn't have cable, I didn't have anything. I didn't have the what's the satellite that they have over there for the Army and everything?
God,
AFN.
Yeah, AFN.
I didn't have a flat screen TV. I had like the old big boob tube box, like the big one, like that.
In the back.
Yeah. I had one that I bought for like $15 at a garage sale.
Steal.
Yeah, so that's where I was living. But so when I say back, what was my priority? Is that the second I got off work, I was in the gym. And I got off, and when I get back off the gym, I'd get home around 10, 11. I might have dinner. I might watch part of a movie or a DVD that I had, because I didn't have anything else. And I go to sleep and wake up and rinse and repeat. And so when I got up, I was in the gym training for PT, with the Army, and I trained during my lunch. And then when I got off, I was right back in the gym. That was my schedule, Monday through Friday. And then back in the gyms and driving to Frankfurt or wherever I could get training in on the weekends, et cetera. And the DJing was kind of the same thing. I learned how to DJ. So I came home and no TV. I would sit there and mix and practice mixing and practice all that type of stuff, as much as I could.
But how do you find yourself amongst the elite DJs in Germany? That's pretty rad.
That's a long story too.
Give us the short version. Give us the short version. The compressed version.
Yeah, the compressed version. The guy that I was fortunate to meet is one of my best friends to this day. A guy named Chris Hawks. Chris is a big DJ over in England. He's DJing in Ibiza and all over Europe and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And really, really good friends over there. In fact,
you must be big time if you DJ in Ibiza. Ibiza is pretty dope.
Yeah,
that's a big part. That's like the Mediterranean Vegas, right?
Yeah, it makes Vegas look. I mean, I love Vegas, but Ibiza makes Vegas look like it's a nice carnival ride. But Chris taught me how to play and all that, and he really helped groom me and take me along. And there's some funny stories and leadership and just teaching me along that way and bringing me along. And so that's how I kind of got into it, was DJing with him and then opening for him and then kind of playing together. And it was myself and him and a couple others. Chris and I call ourselves the Monkey Crew. So we a little Monkey Crew DJ every Saturday at a club in Cambridge, England, and then it just kind of expanded from there.
That's awesome. Man, I really do think that we need to do episodes like 2 and 3 and 4. Phoenix, what do you think? I think we need to have Brian back.
Yeah, we gotta bring you back, Brian. What you think? Is that cool with you?
Hey, anytime, brother. Like I said last week when we asked it, man, you guys let me know, and I'm always. I got a whole nother bottle of toasting left. So.
Nice.
Yeah, we got to make it through that bottle of whiskey. That should be our goal there.
So Brian, you want to go ahead and so you want to any shout outs, anything you want to put out there? How can people get in contact with you? Yeah, let us know what you got going on right now.
Okay, so right now everything's kind of on a temporary hold, I would say, just with the COVID, COVID going on and stuff, and everything kind of shut down. But I'm out here in Las Vegas now. I DJ all over now and everything. Kansas City, Savannah, New York City, you name it, I can make it. Once this COVID lifts, I'll probably get back into it. I will. I have my website. It's #DJBJ.com. It's spelled out #HASHTAG DJBJ.com.
And everybody will be throwing that down below as well for ease of access.
So yeah, the website's kind of being created, or not created, but amped up right now and all that. I got T-shirts on sale and all that sort of stuff. But
DJ,
So yeah, any of the DJ stuff like that. I mean, my email's listed on that site too. So anybody who wants to get in contact for anything, always available. I love hearing from folks and everything. Shout out, I gave it to my buddy Clay Henchman and Black Patch Distillery. Clay was my classmate in the same company as me at West Point, and during our first deployment in 2007, he lost his leg from the knee down, and his dad is a master distiller, and so recently he started Black Patch Distillery. I got my first bottle of it in the mail the other day. It's phenomenal. Everybody can check that out. So
hey Clay, hit us in our DM, man. We definitely would like to have Clay on the show. That sounds like a story within a story, right?
Yeah. Clay is a phenomenal individual. He's got a crazy story and all that. And lastly, thank my wife, Maggie, like we talked about earlier, just in the show even of, you're dealing with all that stuff and then you come back and you got that switch you're trying to flip back on. So yeah, for her patience with me when, even through relationship, trying to work through things. And yeah, I'm trying to get all the switches turned back on, and some are semi-stuck, half on or half off.
Definitely shout out to the military spouses.
Yes.
We couldn't do it without you. Can we cheers to that?
Cheers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All military spouses. Yes, sir.
Cheers.
That's awesome, Brian. Thank you again. We will definitely have you on for part 2, maybe part 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, and viewers, everybody, please let us know in the comments what you want to hear from Brian next time. Your questions that you want us to ask him. We want to know what you want to know. So please let us know in the comments below.
Yes, definitely. So at this time, Brian, this is our favorite part of the show. It's my favorite part of the show. It's called the Thing of the Week, where we give the viewers something that we reviewed that's very inspirational to us this week. So for my thing of the week is the word folly. So I'm giving y'all a word for the week. As I was reading a book, I was reading Dave Ramsey, and I know I spoke about him last week. So I was reading the same book. I didn't finish it in the week. I was reading a Dave Ramsey book, and I discovered a word called folly. He was describing the idea that it's smart, or the myth that it's smart to lease a car, so you can stay in the new, right? In this society, everything is about being on social media and trying to be with the Joneses. So he described that action as being folly. Is a foolish thought, is a foolish myth, is a foolish action. So the word is folly. That's my thing of the week. That's your word for the week. Remember that.
I like that. So avoid folly for the next week, at least. Yes. Keep it in the back of your mind. Avoid folly. So my thing of the week is another podcast. It is called Terrible Thanks for Asking with Nora McInerney. She is actually from here in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, and she just recently moved to Arizona, which makes me very sad that she's not here local anymore. But the podcast is when somebody asks you, hey, how are you? Our default answer is always, oh, I'm doing okay, or I'm fine. And she's like, no, none of that. The answer to that question is, I'm terrible. Thanks for asking. And she tries to redefine kind of that interaction with people. And she interviews people and talks about some of the darkest times in their life and tries to bring to the forefront just being able to talk about things that are hard, which I think plays into also the conversation that we just had with everybody about having the PTSD and facing those hard things and being able to talk to them with your partner and having that support. So I think everybody should go check out that podcast. It's heart-wrenching and also beautiful, but I love it. So go check it out.
Nice. I want to do something new. Brian, do you have something that you want to add to our things of the week?
Ooh.
Yeah, of course. I got one. I got one for you. And I think this kind of goes in the spirit of everything we're talking about. And a lot of what I see today and all that is don't just be the packaging, be the gift inside. And what I say that is, with the social media and all that today, I see so many people, whether it's motivational stuff or health and diet stuff, or, hey, here's the way to be on the grind and get the money stuff, that they're just the wrapping paper, if you will. They can find the YouTube video, they can find the meme, they can find the picture with a nice little cool quote on it. But so many of those folks I see, that's all they put. They're posting something up, but they're not doing anything about it. So don't just be the bright tinsel and wrapping paper and bows to put that stuff up. Be the full package. Work for it, practice what you preach, be the whole person, be a wholesome person. And I think if we all did that, we'd all get along better and we'd all help each other out.
Preach, Brian.
Yes, facts.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it with this. Brian, thank you so much. Cheers to Major Brian Jenson.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.